Are you or maybe somebody else that you know frustrated while working on software development projects? You feel anxious and upset with the way things are going and unsure about your career and maybe frustrated with politics in the company or the future of where your company is taking products? Well, stay tuned because today we're going to talk about 5 causes for anxiety on software development projects and what some things are that we can do to try to control those so they don't make us upset and unfulfilled in our careers. Hi, I'm Jamie Edwards, and I help leaders of software development teams and software companies to do a better job releasing their software, understanding what their customers want, and having an environment where people can be as creative and innovative as possible. Today we're going to talk a little bit about anxiety and some of the common causes for it, and a mindset maybe that you can start to develop to help you cope with anxiety and be a little bit more happy and less stressed out in your career. The first cause of anxiety that I see all the time on projects is past failures. What I mean by this is someone like you or another person that you might know goes into a software project to start doing some work, and they're immediately met with resistance in the things that they know will help that company or team the most, simply because they tried it in the past and something went horribly wrong. You know, when I was a consultant, and I still do consulting now, oftentimes I go into a company in this exact situation. In fact, many times a company had tried really hard several times to accomplish some goal with their company or their projects and failed, and they begin to adapt a mindset that what they're trying to do may not even be possible, or that every vendor that they found has quote unquote screwed them up to that point. Well, unfortunately, this is just the nature of life and work, and for as long as we're asked to do something for another person that they've had a bad prior experience with, the more comfortable that we can get with allowing people to look at us with some scrutiny and not take it personally, I think the better chance we have of earning the trust that it's going to take to really make the changes that are necessary to actually win support and deliver on what other people may have failed in the past. You know, I've had several opportunities in my career to go into a company where another vendor or maybe somebody else at the company had tried to accomplish something and initially was met with a lot of resistance and a lot of skepticism, and just tried to keep it fresh in my mind that this is normal, that this is okay, that other people don't trust me yet, and try to just let go of worrying about what other people think about me and having to please them. Now that's incredibly difficult because, you know, the more successful you are in this career and the longer you've been doing software development, you know, we tend to take a lot of pride in our craft, and we tend to be really happy and thankful for hopefully getting an opportunity to have done some really cool stuff in the past. But oftentimes when we meet new people, unfortunately, they're just not going to have an appreciation for that fact. And I think if we can let go of the expectation that everybody we meet knows how good of a job we've done in the past and be okay with having to prove ourselves again, you know, again, this is incredibly difficult. I get frustrated with it just like everybody else. But if we can just accept the fact that meeting new people is not always going to be, you know, pleasurable, and that we're not always going to get, you know, the kudos or the excitement that we wish that we would, but that we have to re-earn that every time we meet someone new, well, then that's going to give us the energy and the drive and the passion and the patience that we need to really do our best work so that we can prove yet again how we may be able to do something that nobody was able to before. So moving past failures that people have had, and even maybe our own past failures, is just something that, you know, at least in my experience, it's a theme that's repeated through life outside of work and just through everything that happens. But if we can begin to see the possibility of it not being a failure going forward and start to change that way people perceive us in their minds, we can actually fix that. The second cause of anxiety I've experienced many times and seen others experience is forced commitment. This is really when somebody is asked to do something that's either difficult or has a lot of uncertainty associated with it, but they weren't really given an opportunity to influence the terms of the commitment. You know, a really common example of this is if you're a software developer or a tester or an operations person or a UX designer or any role, and you have somebody else estimate how much it's going to cost or how long it's going to take or how, you know, what types of tasks need to be completed to have some work get done properly, and then that commitment of that scope or estimate or cost is essentially handed over to you, and you're now bound by that original estimate, that can cause huge amounts of anxiety. You know, I try to work with companies often to let go of their desire to predict and measure and estimate everything up front, and especially, you know, something that I definitely did earlier in my career, and I think a lot of people do, but they've realized over time is not such a good practice, which is having, you know, a very senior or experienced person try to design and architect and measure and do the requirements for and, you know, estimate the effort around a large scope of work, and then put that into an agile backlog and have the developers, you know, do a little bit of estimating on it, but now they're basically bound to the estimates. Well, there's a couple problems with this. One is that, you know, each person who's asked to do software development, even if it's a task that was already scoped for them, they're going to do it a little bit differently. You know, even if you have a set of patterns that your team follows, the chance that each individual isn't going to have some sort of insight or past experience that could make that better if they're able to use it is like nil. You really want to let people be creative about how they solve the problems that are inherent in delivering some task you've come up with. Well, the only way that we're going to allow people to do that is if we don't force them to commit to our understanding of a problem and our estimates and our scope. So this is something that takes discussing with leadership at companies, because they really want that illusion of predictability and control. And, you know, if you go back to my lean software development video, this is the first video in the series and several of the ones afterwards on this channel, I talk a lot about how, you know, for us to really respond to the way this market is now, where there's tons of uncertainty, you know, people are leaving and starting jobs much more frequently than they used to. You know, we're discovering customers want things that we didn't maybe anticipate. The market's changing. You know, it goes on and on. The only way we can really respond to that is if we harness the creativity in individuals and we are able to adapt more frequently and not predict so much. And I think the way that we are going to be able to do that more is if we start to reduce the anxiety that people are under and let them be at a more peaceful, you know, relaxed state, so that they can really tap into the innovation and creativity and problem solving in their minds. And, you know, unfortunately, you know, even though I think a lot of the theories that came out of the Toyota production system that are around what's turned into our Agile and Scrum practices today and our lean practices are fantastic practices, you know, there's not a one-to-one mapping between software development and manufacturing. You know, I talked about this in the software estimation and Scrum versus Kanban videos earlier on the channel. But so one of the biggest ways I think we can help deal with the anxiety of forced commitment is to stop forcing commitment. You know, if somebody's going to do some work, that person needs to have all the say in the scoping, the estimation, how the approach is going to be handled. So, you know, this whole process or approach of having a senior person scope a large amount of work up front and then hand it off to other people, you know, in my experience, it has never worked. The project may complete and it may ship and you may even come in under budget, but something's going to be compromised. Either it's going to be lower quality and there's going to be a lot of technical debt, there's going to be scope chopped off and what you deliver is nothing like the original vision, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Go back to my minimum viable product video where I talk about that. Or really, you're going to take longer, it's going to cost more money. So, you know, accepting that those are just all realities of the outcome of this upfront, predictive, prescriptive approach for software development, that's something that I think the more you can do to educate your stakeholders, the better chance you're going to have that you're not forced into commitments that are really not fair to you while you're working on software development projects. The third thing that I see cause a lot of anxiety, and I certainly have become very stressed out and anxious in my career when this happens, is simply impatience. When we become impatient about wanting to rush through completing a task, or we want to get a promotion as quickly as possible, or we want to be seen as the expert before maybe we've earned it, we place a huge burden on ourselves that's really unrealistic, and then it prevents us from doing our best work. And if you've ever been the subject of someone else's impatience, especially someone you report to or possibly a client, that can be incredibly stressful and cause a lot of anxiety as well. And I think the better job all of us can do at just accepting, this isn't a sprint, our careers. This is a marathon. We need to have the energy and the endurance to make progress and continue and move a little bit each day, just move the needle rather in the right direction. And as long as we've got that kind of approach and we're able to sustainably, make progress, we're gonna get the rewards we want, the recognition we want, the opportunities we want. But I think, when we try to force an outcome or we try to rush to a solution, it always ends up having two problems. One is there's compromises that are made, and the other is that your personal health and well-being suffer. And that's actually, I think, the more damaging thing. If you want to have a long career in software, one of the best pieces of advice I can give you, and this is from me not doing this well, especially the first 10 years of my career, is to let go of that desire to see, reaching a goal as the ultimate pinnacle of your career. Once you reach that goal, you're going to find another goal you want to reach. And then you're going to reach that goal and you're going to find another goal you want to reach. Well, if you want to enjoy your career, you need to enjoy each success. And the only way you're going to do that is if you don't rush so that by the time you get it, there's a little delayed satisfaction, and that then when you do get that reward or you accomplish that goal, you can actually be peaceful and savor it and enjoy it and not instantly rush off to the next thing. The fourth thing that I see cause a lot of anxiety on software development projects, and it's caused anxiety for me, I've seen it caused for leads of teams and even companies that have huge effects on the anxiety of everybody else, is simply life struggles outside of work that have nothing to do with our work or even the people we're working with. If you're in a relationship, or maybe you have children, or your parents are sick, or you're having financial trouble, the things we all go through in life affect us on the job. And, I think a lot of software developers, because our job is so difficult and it takes so much focus, we're constantly improving our ability to understand technology. And we're constantly improving our ability to understand software development processes. But we don't always, and I can only speak for myself and some other people I've worked with, I don't think we always take seriously developing ourselves enough. Meaning, putting some time and putting some effort into allowing ourselves to recharge and recover from, tragedies we may have went through in life, or things that, maybe have happened that have made our ability to do our job really difficult. And I'm surprised often by, myself, I did this a lot earlier in my career, and a lot of people I meet now, how, we're so anxious about being seen as knowing everything and getting everything done that we don't take vacation often enough. And I think a lot of times when something happens in your life that's difficult and hard, it's probably at the worst possible time on your project, or you may look at it like, oh, I'm on the hook for all this stuff. And maybe I'm a lead of a development team, or I'm a product manager, I'm steering the ship, and I couldn't possibly take vacation right now. You have to take vacation right now, because if you don't, it's just going to cause more anxiety for you, and that's going to compromise every decision and interaction you have with people. Now, are we never going to experience anxiety? Is our life, things that happen outside of the job going to completely stop happening so we can always feel comfortable and smooth at work? Of course not. But there's times when we need to just say enough's enough and, let everybody know, look, I've got some stuff going on. I really need a chance to recharge. This is really important to me. I want to do the best job possible, and I just can't do it right now until I get some time to really take care of this issue at home. You know, and if you're worried about what other people think about you, stop it, because they're going to have the same thing happen to them at some point in their career. And if they don't see that right now, tough. That's not your problem. Your problem is yourself, and your own health, in your own career, and your own well-being. You know, you should care about other people, but you shouldn't care about them to the point that you sacrifice your own levels of peace and bring huge amounts of anxiety to yourself and others, because you don't just give yourself the permission to heal from whatever struggles you're going through. And the last cause of anxiety that I want to talk about today on software development projects, and I think this is just a huge cause of anxiety for our entire society today, is our scarcity mindset. What do I mean by that? Well, we have this perception that there's not enough of anything. We don't have enough money. We don't have enough likes on Facebook. You know, we don't look good enough. We don't have a big enough job title. There's not enough positions out there for us to have a fulfilling career. It's all not true. I mean, the reality is, if you just go on LinkedIn and search for full stack, you know, JavaScript developer or product manager or VP even, or whatever, there are so many unfilled positions. And if you think those positions all really are finding a person that meets every single requirement that they put on their job, you know, a posting, there's no way. I find a lot of people that, and I do this too, that stay at a job, unfortunately, too long because they're really scared that there's just nothing out there better, and so they prefer, you know, the devil they know to the devil they don't. Meaning, you know, they'll take something they don't like that's comfortable versus having to have the courage to just try something new. Now, I'm not going to come, you know, try to act like I'm the most brave person out there. No, I get terrified at times in this industry. Who doesn't? I mean, the amount of things that are changing, you know, year after year, the pace at which our whole industry transforms what you need to know has gotten to be so rapid, nobody can possibly keep up with this. But the reality is, you are unique, and even if other people don't see that all the time, it doesn't matter. You know, you don't have to worry that there's not a job out there that's going to keep you happy, or that there's not enough money. You really more have to worry, are you going to let the fear of that scarcity mindset trap you and prevent you from putting yourself out there and trying something new and being willing to fail a few times, which is the same thing I and many other people are asking business owners to do if they're going to be more agile and lean? Well, I think we need to live our lives and progress in our careers in much the same way. We need to be willing to try a few things and see where they go. And you know, I'm doing that on this YouTube channel. You know, I don't have some master plan for what I'm going to talk about for the next year and any kind of certainty or absolute outcome that I think I'm going to get out of this. I just think, you know, I'm passionate about helping people develop software better. I've learned a lot of things, and I want to share them. And my expectation is I'm going to find one of two things. Either one, the things that I share are going to be valuable to people. They're going to give me feedback and help me be even more valuable to them. And at some point, that might benefit me to find me some cool new opportunities that I can't even foresee. Or two, I'm going to find there's just not enough of an appetite for that. And that's okay, because the only way to find out is to just try it. So if you can eliminate that scarcity mindset and you can let go of this worry that there's not enough for you out there, I think it's going to dramatically reduce the anxiety that you have, and you're going to be able to go about just working, you know, even if you expected a promotion 2 years ago and you're really upset that you didn't get it. Well, there's promotions out there at other positions. There's other companies that maybe would hire you in at a higher position. If you're really attached to being recognized for more, well, then you need to, unfortunately, put yourself out there. Otherwise, accept where you are, be thankful for it, you know, look for opportunities to grow, and get out of work and do some things that make you happy and let you have some fun that have nothing to do with your career. But either way, you know, Scarcity can absolutely cripple us on software development projects, and I think the better job we can control ourselves, our ability to see that there's so much opportunity out there in the world, but we have to just kind of let go of our desire to be sure of everything and just try some things. That's going to give us the best chance of really finding the fulfillment that we may have no clue of how to get right now. And that's okay, you know. If we can just take a few steps day to day, we can get there. There's always somebody or some group of people out there that want to hear exactly what you have to say, and nobody else has the same way to say it. You know, I think one of the things I fear often, and a lot of people do, is that everything that we say has to be new. I mean, honestly, probably 98% of everything I've ever learned in my career is not something that nobody else has ever learned. Everybody else knows it, but being able to give my unique perspective on it and communicate it in a way that hopefully connects with some people out there is where my value is, and it's where your value is too. So whether you're trying to communicate with people or change a process or get recognized or grow, you know, if you can let go of that feeling that there's not enough and you need to be extra special and you need to be groundbreaking, and just accept, hey, it's okay. I am who I am. You know, I'm going to grow the way that I'm going to grow, and I don't have to grow in a way that everybody else expects or thinks is the hottest new thing today. Well, that's going to bring peace to you, and it's going to allow you to have less anxiety, and that's what this video is all about. So please give me a thumbs up below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks.